Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and hey, welcome to My Hero Academia, Chapter 218, the Special Abilities Liberation Army. Oh my god, who would have thought we were going to be here? I did. Not really. Well, kinda, but we'll get to that. First, just before we start the video, I want to tell you guys, for the people who are interested in the manga arc review videos, the videos that just kind of look at the whole arc as a whole. Now that we're in a new arc, I know I can start those videos, so keep an eye on it. There's still, I'm still a little bit behind with what I want to make, so it's gonna be kind of slow going, but it'll be up on the channel eventually. And that video will be looking at what the previous arc did right, what it did maybe not so right, and what kind of things came out from that arc. Anyway, guys, yeah, this video 218. Oh my god, nice. Alright, let me give you the full rundown of where my mind was at while I was reading this chapter, because Manga Stream, where I first read the chapter, made the great move of hiding the title by saying the title is a spoiler. And so I got overly excited because it's like, oh my god, why? Well, what's going on? Oh my god, well, what is this? What's going to happen? So I start the chapter. Page 1 is a nice slice of life scene, and I'm loving it. Suyu's over there hibernating. Mineta and Kirishima are doing something, and I'm just thinking, oh, this is nice. And my first thought, traitors. Oh my god, are we gonna find out who the traitor is? I'm just freaked out at that point. Okay, and I'm just thinking, okay, cool. I go through the pages. And then we end up finding out that Baku and Todoroki are having their final exam for the provisional license. I'm just thinking, oh, holy jeez, oh my god, no way. And so what I'm thinking at this stage is like, okay, well, what's going on here? And I go back to the previous page that tells us that we are in December. And I'm just thinking, okay, when I first talked about the provisional license, I was pretty sure that the provisional license exam was going to coincide with the end of the school year due to maybe a few lines from that time period. But it's happening at the end, or almost near the end of the second semester in the Japanese school year. And I'm saying that because I went and I googled to find out when exactly is the end of the semesters in, or sorry, I guess trimesters, kinda? Because semesters is 2, but I think Japan has 3 semesters, or sorry, 3 trimesters. Anyway, point is, after reading it, I found out, okay, December 25th, or like around that time period, like the end of December, that's the end of the second semester in Japan. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. That means we have this provisional license exam happening now, and we also have the end of a semester occurring in the Hero Academia timeline, which story logic dictates maybe this is going to be a big event depending on where it gets dragged out to. Oh, also, because I just remembered it as I'm like looking at some pictures, the channel's currently being attacked by Shonen Jump, so I will not have that many screenshots. So apologies guys, you're going to be seeing this screen for a while. Anyway, when okay, where was I? Right, at this point I'm thinking, okay, Jesus, this is going to be a big event. But they're skipping over like whatever Bakugo and them are doing, and they're showing us instead some kind of infomercial. And I'm thinking, okay, that's just set up. It's just telling me like the initial idea was that when those two were gonna get their license, it was going to coincide with a bigger event. And as I find out by the end of the chapter, it's like, oh yeah, we know what the bigger event is, or maybe we have an idea of what the bigger event is. Anyway, we transition into the infomercial. And the first thing that I'm just kind of like worried about is like this guy's talking about quirks and how shit just didn't work out back in the past and during the development of society and when superpowers came out, so or whatever. Yeah, when superpowers came out, blah blah blah. I'm looking at this guy making some poses on the screen and I'm just thinking, yeah, no way. This guy's evil. This guy's so evil. He's talking about quirks from a different era. I'm just thinking like, yeah, something's up here. And you know, I'm thinking at this point like, okay, he's talking about an era gone by. We know that there's some plot elements that are from era gone by. I'm thinking Destro in the back of my head. And I'm just like, gotta see, but I'm pretty sure this guy's evil. Although at this point, I was still very much on the whole traitor bandwagon still. I was still thinking that there's going to be a traitor reveal here somewhere. Anyway, as we go through the chapter, we then see this guy at his business office, and we see them, him talking to his buddy Miyashita, maybe is his name, and then he pulls out the Destro book, and I'm like, okay, that's it, no traitor, we're getting Destro, and I'm totally into it. And I'm just thinking, this guy doesn't look that. Is this guy Destro? And I legitimately was thinking, this guy is Destro. How did he get there? Like, holy. And then when his buddy starts bad-mouthing Destro, I'm just thinking, oh, buddy. Oh, buddy, this guy's gonna die. And sure enough, the guy starts to react and seems to have a serious conflict about it. After that, we get the whole monologue sequence, which just informs us that this is actually Destro. Although, I will preface, I do think Destro might still be alive in Tartarus. I wouldn't be surprised. I would assume he could still be in there. That's just because I'm pretty fixated on the whole idea of All For One getting back all his buddies. But, you know, I'll accept it if he actually did pass away. But I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if he is still somewhere in Tartarus. Maybe like one of the big plot reveals of this arc is going to be, oh no, Destro is actually still alive, blah blah blah. Anyway, not the point. Point here is, they reveal that Destro possibly had kids, we see a bunch of them, and then by the end of the chapter, we see Bakugo and Todoroki finish with their hero license exam, taking on some petty villains in town. And, you know, at that point, the Special Liberation Army came up, and I'm just like, yeah, nice. So, that was pretty much the run-through. Was it useful information for you guys to know? No, not really. Maybe not, unless you just want to have fun just talking about the excitement of this chapter. But yeah, that was my run-through. It's good that we didn't get anything about traders, but it's good that we got things about Destro. Because Destro has been a plot element that's been in Hero Academia since the Gentle arc. Gentle foreshadowed it, and then we moved into the Endeavor and Hawk arc, which showed that the books were on sale. So, you know, in terms of, are you surprised that the Liberation Army showed up? You shouldn't be, because it was spelled out for you in the most effective way that a story can spell things out, by putting little details in during unrelated events. You know, the author pretty much created the illusion that this is all part of a bigger world, that the world was giving you the hints that this was going to occur eventually. Regardless, Destro is not unfolding the way I thought it would, so props to the author for coming up with such a creative way of implementing the concept of Destro within the story after setting up some kind of idea about him. I really do respect the author for what he's doing here. I mean, like, really, like, the way I thought this was going to play out was way more, like, straightforward. This is pretty cool. Now, let's talk about, you know, what exactly, or let's talk about, like, the value of this chapter, because there's a lot of things still going on within it. So like I rambled on in the beginning, this is occurring near the end of the second semester. Sorry, it should be trimester, but I'm just gonna say semester just for ease. Anyway, this is occurring around the second semester, or the end of the second semester of the Hero Academia school year. So what I am thinking is that since this is so close to the end, chances are maybe this arc will carry us through to the end of the second semester. In which case, there's gonna, well, it's reasonable to expect that there's gonna be a big event to cap off the second semester. That's personally where I'm putting my bets in. And in terms of patterns, Hero Academia is still following some patterns that it's established. It's still following the pattern of villain event, school event, villain event. The previous school event was, of course, Class 1A versus Class 1B, and the villain event before that was Endeavor and Hawks versus the League of Villains, right? So we're still following that pattern of school and villains, and right now with this arc, from the way it's setting up, it sounds like this arc is going to be kind of maybe a rehash of the Overhaul arc, and the one that really makes me feel it is because when you have Bakugo and Todoroki there at the end, that really reminds me of chapter 133, Kirishima Give Chase. Pretty much where Kirishima was introduced into the Overhaul arc, where he was chasing down some petty criminals along with Sun Eater. So that's the vibes I'm kind of getting. And then in terms of like the wider Overhaul arc, when you think about it, look what you have here. You have a second villain organization who is, you know, they have their own little weird philosophy, and then they're trying to meet with the League of Villains, and as it turns out, they want to eliminate the League of Villains. So already you have a sort of conflict between two villainous groups that was kind of similar to what occurred in the Overhaul arc. Now mind you, I'm not saying that the author is going to completely copy everything from the Overhaul arc. It's just that right now, the stylings are kind of similar to how the Overhaul arc started? Well, I say kind of similar in the sense that these two villain groups are going to come into opposition. And there was like that similar kind of tension at the beginning of the Overhaul arc when it came to Shigaraki and the others. Now, if the Liberation Army is actually going after Shigaraki's group, man, there's going to be blood everywhere. Because at this point, Shigaraki's become a little bit too competent. So now we're going to be seeing potentially some really destructive stuff. And so that's pretty exciting. It's the big question here is, how is Izuku's group going to get involved in this? And next question is Izuku's group going to get involved in this? Well, it depends. Right now, it seems like Izuku's going to get involved in it by the virtue that Todoroki and Bakugo are getting involved in a small event. We have to see how things are going to spiral out of control. But Horikoshi could very easily make this a villain versus villain arc. So what I'm seeing right now is that if we go down the route of removing Izuku in his involvement in general, then we're going to end up getting a villain versus villain arc, which I think would be short. If, however, Izuku's group, or even maybe Todoroki and Bakugo, get involved in the bigger arc here, I think we're going to be going for an arc length that rivals potentially Overhaul's arc, maybe a little bit shorter. At this point in time, there isn't enough information for me to be able to make an accurate prediction on what exactly is going to happen. Although I would really appreciate if we have an arc without Izuku, and if that means getting villain versus villain, I'd be quite fine with that. I think Horikoshi can pull off. Well, no, the villains in themselves are so charismatic that he could pull off having them just carry an arc. He showed that he can pull off having Endeavor sort of carry an arc, although it was a battle arc. I think they could. I still think he could work it in here. So this is a point where I'm just looking for information. Guys, let me know what you think is going to happen. How do you think this arc could play out? Do you think this could potentially rival the Overhaul arc in terms of length? Do you see some of the similarities between this and the Overhaul arc just from the way it's setting up? Do you want to see villain versus villain, or do you want Izuku to get involved? Let me know down below. Right now, honestly, how are they going to come into conflict with these guys? With the Superhuman Liberation Army? Where exactly, how can you get the Izuku group involved in that? With the Overhaul arc, you had them going outside of UA. How easy is that going to be for them to get it going this time? Like, honestly, next week, if we see that the kids are doing internships again, then we know that that's going to be the way in. But right now, it's kind of tough to see a way in unless weird things start happening. So let me know what you think down below. Now, there's still a few little things I want to talk about. Specifically because the Superhuman Liberation Army comes in and they are kind of interesting to look at. Now, you know, we have the main guy. I'm going to call him Destro 2.0 or Destro's Spawn. He's cool and all, but one of the things that I was really curious about is that you get to see them making their greeting symbol, which I assume is an L for the Liberation Army. So, I want to ask you guys, have we seen that hand gesture before? You know the one. It's the one that they put up to their forehead and they have like an L kind of sticking there. Have we seen that before? Let me know down below, because if we have seen that before, that might be a nice little hint for one of the characters in Hero Academia being some sort of traitor. It'd be pretty interesting to know. Because there is one person in that group meetup that still has their face obscured. So, you know, there's always the potential for a traitor. You always got to be looking for it. The other thing I want to point out is that at some point, the group, the Special Liberation Army, was talking about the Destro 2.0 breaking into the hero industry, and then he, at least in the Gemini's box translation, says that that they have a track record. And then right after he says that, we go into the petty villains, and we get a really good close-up of the one guy with his mask, which tells me that potentially Destro 2.0's company has been giving out hero support items, or, you know, just support items to criminals. Like, he's probably one of those black market dealers of support gear. The big question is if this guy has ever given out support gear to the Villains League, because if, in that case, well, you know, he's got some connections. He's already got a way forward to the Villain League. Anyway, what do you guys think about that? I think it's actually, with the way the lines are set up, it's very likely that this guy actually is involved in the black market when it comes to illegal weapons and all kinds of stuff like that. Anyway, Are there other things that I really want to talk about in this chapter? No, not really. We spent a lot of time on that commercial and the fallout from the commercial just to set up the villainous identity of this guy. And that's fine. It's just like there's only so much you can take from that besides characterization. It's just telling you what this guy's about and then just setting up his way of operating and what he wants to do in the near future. I think it's nicely done, but there's not much more information that I can extrapolate from that. Still, it's a pretty cool character. I like the idea that he did feel remorseful. I like that he's okay being joked around with certain things. It's just you can't touch daddy. He has daddy issues, so you can't go there. But that's fine. That's totally fine. I'm totally into that. I like that kind of villain. So right now, my big hopes, I want to see if this is going to turn villain versus villain, or if Izuku's group is getting involved, or if the Todoroki Bakugo duo is getting involved. Let me know what you thought down below. Until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day, and if I missed something obvious, please let me know down below. Anyway, yeah, have a great day. This is so cool.